Hello everyone, it's me. And we're just gonna cut the intro right there. Because you know what we're looking at. Dual process theory. We are gonna be reacting to We Saw FNAF and We're Not Kidding. And what I'm most likely the longest video I have ever will ever react to in my tenure in the channel. In the tenure of YouTube. Like, this is 2 hours long, guys. So this is most likely going to be part one, which is most likely going to be an hour, and then part two will also be an hour. Wrap your heads around that. If you think the Alex Bale High School Musical video was big, this is going to be ginormous. So we're just going to head into it, shall we? I mean, we're just going to head right in. So just sit back, relax, grab yourself a snack, let's go.
I said to him, Orville, not every story has to have significance, you know?
Okay, we're
Sometimes,
hearing Mr. Hippo.
sometimes a story is just a story. You try to read into every little thing and find meaning in everything anyone says.
Ah, it's nostalgia of the
Drive
old
yourself crazy.
trailers.
A friend do it once. Wasn't pretty. We talked about it for years. And then not only that, but you'll likely end up believing something you shouldn't believe, thinking something you shouldn't think, or assuming something you shouldn't assume. You know?
Why do I feel like Mr. Hippo's story could be...
With the release of Help Wanted 2, the new lore introduced in the game raised quite a...
Alright, so this video is gonna be... Alright, so... This is not taking account Secrets of the Mimic. Dang, so... But hey, man, I'm still interested.
few more questions than answers, you know, like most FNAF games. But in the little details of the secret ending, crucial parts of the original timeline were given, ones that we believe can help us solve the overly complicated lore of this game series.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Corey.
And I'm Connie.
Hello.
We just solved FNAF.
Bold words for a first video, Corey.
Shut
Ha!
up. I'm aware of what a hefty claim that is. Ever since the second game, fans have been scrambling to attempt to piece together the lore. Every installment
A lot
may
of
solve
map
few
pads,
things,
by the way.
but honestly just adds more questions. Do we know everything? No, we'd be dumb to claim that.
Yeah, for instance, we just forgot to put the shadow animatronics here. I don't know what the fuck those are.
Dang.
But not only have we uncovered some game-changing details, but revealed long-held fandom beliefs that are, when looking over everything, just plainly not true.
I also want to clarify something before we start. The point of this video isn't just a FNAF timeline video.
Okay.
Honestly, this video is written around two key points and building everything up else around them.
Alright.
You need to understand one before you understand the other.
Bet.
Or, more likely, you need to believe one before you can believe the other.
Okay.
This video's point is to look all the way back, with a clean slate, which is what we did, and start over from the beginning. Get us on at least a similar, new page so that we can continue theorizing in a way that actually makes progress instead of going in circles.
Okay. Alright, so just go back and just basically erase everything we know and process everything we do know slowly. Okay, okay, not bad.
First, let's get some disclaimers out of the way.
Alright. Ah, come on, don't make me...
And number...
If you really think I'm gonna read all that, if you guys really think I'm gonna read all of that, I'm not. You guys are gonna have to pause. You guys are gonna have to pause. Matter of fact, I'll be right back. All right, I got back reading all of it. Basically, is just take everything with a grain of salt. This is all speculative. Hopefully, you guys know at least the basics of FNAF, and you know, try not to harass anyone if they got something wrong. That's pretty simple, right? Come on, guys. It's FNAF. I get it. Has a very passionate fan base, but let's try and keep it civil. Okay? Okay. Let's go.
Number 7, we will be cussing in this video.
Oh.
We're not sorry. Fuck shit.
So,
I bet,
say
alright.
the long preamble.
For an insanely long essay, our written form is 50 pages long.
Yeah, that's what you
50?
for adding a bibliography. Let's begin.
Bad. The Afton family in the beginning of tragedy. Okay.
To begin with, first we must question when exactly Fazbear Entertainment became a corporation.
Okay.
Prior to the release of Security Breach, Most fans presumed it began in the 1970s or 80s with the original Fredbear's Family Diner.
Yeah.
However, one of the collectibles in Security Breach is a poster for the Wonderful Fredbear's Singin' Show. The
Ooh,
poster
yeah.
is in black and white, which doesn't mean a whole lot considering the first color printer wouldn't work until 1977. So
Dang.
this only places the beginning of Freddy's at before the 80s.
All right.
However, we get other important information. First, the drawing of Fredbear with pie cut eyes, which was a popular style
Kinda
mainly
like
in the
Bendy.
20s to 30s. By the time color became popular in animation, actual eyes could be drawn. So possibly this poster is either from that era or invoking nostalgia for the rubber hose days, which would imply something connecting Fredbear to that time period. But
Okay.
specifically, look at the price on the ticket. 50 cents general admission. When tracking ticket prices, we know that adult admission for carnivals jumped up to $1 a ticket by the 1950s.
Okay.
In comparison, many carnival tickets from the 40s, including the 1939 to 40 World's Fair, which was less a carnival and more a showcase, but important place, sold for 50 cents. If we can narrow down this poster to any time period, we can quickly narrow it down to the 1940s.
Okay.
Is this important?
No, I just have friends that like dating things.
I personally think the brand, being as old as the 40s, is unlikely. That it may be older than Henry and William themselves. Maybe it's just a 30-year cycle thing. Nevertheless, we know at the very least that Fredbear's Family Diner began in the 1970s or early 1980s.
Okay.
Fall Fest, which seems to be connected to Freddy's, has a poster for 1970 and Help Wanted 2, which could state that Fazbear as an idea or corporation started around then. But nevertheless, we know at the very least that Fredbear's Family Diner began in the 1970s or early 1980s. The
All
main
right.
time we see it is in 1983, where it seems to be in a
I feel like, yeah, I mean, with the release of Secrets of the Mimic, I definitely feel like Fazbear Entertainment has to be around in 19 has to be, existing probably in the 1970s. It just feels like it because of that whole Fall Fest poster and the fact that Edwin Sr. knows about Fazbear Entertainment. So I just feel like it has to be there. Now, does that mean William Afton would be extremely old by the time, he gets Springlock? Yeah, but heck, maybe Remnant could just prolong someone's aging. Maybe Remnant causes people to age slow, and that's why William Afton wants it, because Remnant could essentially be the gateway for immortality, and who wouldn't want immortality? So, yeah.
established restaurant. Here's where we enter speculation on the owners of the restaurant. We know for a fact that the co-owners of the restaurants, at the time of the missing children incident, were William Afton and Henry. They don't
Okay.
seem to be full owners of the franchise, which has a company behind it, but whether they started the franchise and sold it or simply joined the company to open restaurants is up to interpretation.
Also note, Henry and Charlotte's last name may not be Emily, as the name was found on her grave in the Silver Eyes, and,
What?
well, it could have easily been a middle name. In the Ultimate Guide, she's referred to as Charlotte Emily, but he's just referred to as Henry, implying it may not be a shared name. But it does exist as a surname and does mean rival, so that's what we got for now. William Afton seems
Dang. Alright. I mean, I guess that would make sense. I mean, like, no disrespect to anyone who has a first name to a last name, alright? I'm pretty sure there's someone out there who has Emily as a last name, but it's just like, it's kind of strange that now that you brought that up, why didn't Henry get a last name? If we know that Charlotte has a last name, why doesn't Henry get it? Why is Henry just Henry, no last name given? That's interesting. Okay.
to have been the one running Fredbear's, which worked out because his family lived walking distance from the building. It is very likely that their sister location, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, was also open around the same time as Fredbear's, possibly falling under Henry's jurisdiction. We know this due to the existence of Chica and Foxy toys, merchandise, and television appearances during FNAF 4, despite them not appearing at Fredbear's.
Okay.
Five Nights at Freddy's 3 also references a sister location that was open at the same time as Freddy's, which seems to have closed due to Springlock
We kind of know
failures.
what's going on now with Foxy and Chica, but I ain't pausing a lot.
Hi.
We know for a fact that the main four characters had at least been established by that point. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy. Fredbear and Spring Bonnie were also established and merchandised with the others, as we see separate Fredbear and Freddy plushies in the crying child's room, and a little kid with a Spring Bonnie finger trap in the cutscenes.
Okay.
Who could be Charlie? That's not important. No matter when Fredbear's was established, we know that the
Okay,
Freddy Fazbear
recorded.
specific brand began in 1983. Due to novelty coins you can find, so there's that.
While
Alright.
William seems to have handled mainly business and entertainment, Henry, meanwhile, is confirmed to have been the technician within the franchise, as he later refers to the suits as my creations. This is supported in the Silver Eyes, in which Henry is stated to be the creator of all Freddy's suits, including both the endo and exoskeletons, as well as the Springlock variants. The
Alright.
Springlock suits, as any FNAF fan will tell you, are very important to understand. When creating the animatronics for their restaurants, William and Henry decided to create suits that could function as both animatronics and costumes, ones that could perform on stage with robotic movements, but could also be worn as outfits to mingle safely with guests.
Okay.
Thus, the Springlock suits. With a hand crank, the inner machinery was wound back and held against the edges of the suit with the springlock mechanisms, leaving room for a human to fit inside. Unfortunately, however, the springlocks were
Dangerous.
unreliable, to say the least. Any wrong movement or introduction of fluid such as spilled water,
Hey, yo!
blood, and the springlocks would set off, sending the endoskeleton back into place, whether or not someone was still inside.
Dang.
This would cause an intense and painful death. While the instructions tell the employees to find somewhere quiet to bleed out, it's actually more likely that the suits would cause more internal than external bleeding. The pieces would still be in place, holding most of the blood in. However, its piercing of vital organs and arteries could not be understated.
Ha.
It would be a long and painful death, and the owners knew this. As stated previously, it was in the instructions to find a safe place to bleed out rather than frighten guests. In the Silver Eyes, there is a given
Thanks,
possibility
Fazbear.
of surviving a spring locking, as William is stated to have done so, but there isn't any mention of this in the game's universe. I suppose it could be
Yeah, why is he naked? I just... Now you just brought this up, like, wait, is he for real naked? Ah, heck no. I knew it.
possible if medical attention was received, but that would require the employee to be found and rescued in a reasonable time frame, something that would be hard if they went to the back rooms.
Those back rooms are also important. In the instructions, the safe place to bleed out
Huh.
was noted as the hidden back room in the establishments.
Each Freddy's location was given a secret room, accessible to employees but hidden from all maps and inaccessible to free-roaming animatronics.
Okay.
These rooms are where the murders are going to take place, and where Springtrap will be stuck for a long while, so it's also important to keep them in mind. A lot of this is pretty dangerous, honestly.
Yeah.
Back rooms were supposedly made for staff breaks, but anyone could see why a hidden room off map would be a dangerous thing to make. And the spring locks? Damn. I think here we should really just consider that William and Henry were adrenaline junkies. Or at the very least, a bit careless with safety until later events. I mean,
Yeah, it makes
it's the
sense.
80s.
It was the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, like, look, I'm gonna say this. I'm not trying to say that, because I feel like with Secrets of the Mimic, we kind of know that Henry is a little bit shady. I mean, I'm not gonna, like, we're not gonna ignore the fact that, you know, that Edwin literally said when Henry said no about the spring locks, like, why can't we just have teenagers test it out? I'm sorry, what? Are you saying that Henry and are you saying that they are perfectly okay letting teenagers wear these animatronics that could possibly be dangerous? Oh nah. But I will say that, come on, Henry. Just keep, just keep Charlotte at home. There was no need to make a puppet animatronic. Okay. If you know that Fazbear Entertainment is, if you knew that there was missing children, how about not bring your daughter to said place?
We all know how safe everyone was being then.
When it's hot out, this is a great place to spend the day with your family.
Dang.
We've discussed Fredbears and the likelihood of Freddy's being open at the same time. The other important thing to understand about the co-owners at this point is their families, namely their children. If either had a wife, they're not mentioned or important. Mrs. Emily gets a few mentions in the Silver Eyes as having left following Charlie's death, but no narrative significance outside of that.
Uh-huh.
Mrs. Afton is only implied to exist in Security Breach and only vaguely. Henry Emily's kid
True.
is easy. Her name is Charlotte Emily, referred to as Charlie in the novels. The novels also reference a twin named Sammy, but like Mrs. Emily, he has no lore relevance outside of being a retconned red herring as to who Henry's dead kid is, and there isn't a single implication of his existence in any other universe.
Dang.
The novels also give Charlotte's age, though it's inconsistent by book. In the first book, she states she was 7 in 1985, which would put her birth at 1978. The fourth closet's gravestone puts her birth in 1980 and her death in 1983. The poppet for Charlie in Help Wanted 2 is also unlocked via a 1983 code, although
Okay.
that may not be a reference to her death year and may just be a reference to the original sister location Easter egg. Either way, we know that at the time of her death, she was incredibly young. Afton tends to grab kids that are under 10 years old. And Afton's got his own family, too.
William Afton has 3 known children, Michael, Elizabeth, and the third one, who is known in the fan base as the Crying Child.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna be real. We believe we have been told the Crying Child's name, and once we get to that part
Not
of the video,
Evan.
we will refer to them as such.
Okay.
Until we get there, though, we'll be initializing him as CC.
Alright.
Michael is definitely the oldest and seems to be in his tweens or early teens by around FNAF 4, which would place his birth around 1970.
Okay.
As for the other two, we don't have specific years or ages. However, I do believe that CC is actually older than Elizabeth, contrary to fandom belief. The only hint towards her existence in FNAF 4 is when you can walk into her room, upon which her only toy is a broken Mangle. FNAF 2 states that Mangle was created with toddlers in mind, and the toddlers are the ones who take him apart, which implies to me that Elizabeth is a toddler in 1983. This
Dang.
would explain her absence from the plot. She's at daycare or with her parent or parents, or simply too young to be participating in any events. Another long
I mean, I genuinely thought that, Evan and my apologies. Crying Child and Elizabeth could be like twins, kind of like Dipper and Mabel, like they're the same age and all that. But I mean, like Elizabeth being the youngest, possibly. I mean, heck, FNAF be keeping things vague and just now reveal stuff just when we thought we know FNAF, they just throw something that causes our whole minds to explode. So I can kind of see it.
debate in the fan base is which child died first. We know Michael died last, but the other 3 are up in the air.
Yes.
To be honest, it seems very likely that of the 3 left, Charlie, Cece, Elizabeth died last. Firstly, because, as mentioned, she was likely a toddler in 1983 and would need to age up a little more. We also
Okay.
know for certain, due to the blueprints of the Fun Times, that each robot was made with child luring and kidnapping in mind, and the scooper was made to remove remnant, which Afton would have no idea about until he started experimenting with possession. This
Okay.
puts Elizabeth solidly behind the other 2. As for Charlie and CC, it's been debated on whether Charlie was killed in William's grief over CC, or if CC was traumatized by Charlie's death. I believe that in Help Wanted 2 and FNAF 6, we are given the information that CC dies first. The Help Wanted 2 information we'll get to when we get to it, but as for FNAF 6...
Midnight Motorist is a very controversial minigame.
It
With
is.
multiple clues pointing to it, it really seems like this is about William Afton.
His change in color is likely to differentiate him from the previous game's Michael sprite. At the time of Sister Location's release, confusion on whether Michael was the purple guy or just a purple guy was at an all-time high.
Oh,
Or
definitely.
it could be because a purple sprite just wouldn't look good against a black background. The secret minigame featured within Midnight Motorist is labeled in the files as Later That Night. Considering the look of the car and the rain texture, it's very, very likely to be referring to Charlotte's death. It's later on the night Charlotte died, after William drove away, but while it was still raining. The story shows him drunk driving to a place called Junior's that won't let him in. Likely a bar that's keeping him from getting more drunk.
Huh.
The biggest proof of this is the guy standing outside, kicking
Come
him out.
on, you know you
Pretty
can't
likely
be
a
here.
bouncer.
Don't make
He has the power to keep him out and
more
is
difficult
already
than it is
standing
to be.
outside. The important part we need to discuss here is Junior's, because it establishes that later the night Charlotte died, Fredbear's has been closed. The path between Junior's and the driver's house is the same as the path between Fredbear's
Oh,
and the
right
Crying
toast.
Child's. If Afton is the driver, that makes
I've been meaning to want to react to Right Toast. Would you guys want me to react to Right Toast? I mean, I kind of want to, but I mean, like, I'm not sure if it's I don't know if people would want me to do it, but maybe you guys will let me know if you guys want me to react to Right Toast, because I've been seeing a lot of his content around and they were intriguing.
Junior's the new building occupying what used to be Fredbear's. Junior's was Fredbear's, closed down and turned into a bar. FNAF 2
Dang.
establishes that Fredbear's was the first location.
We're gonna try to contact the original restaurant owner. I think the name of the place was Fredbear's Family Diner or something like that.
This means that Charlotte died at Freddy's and not Fredbear's, like in the books, which can be backed up by Freddy being the animatronic serving cake in FNAF 2 and not Fredbear. But it also means that if Fredbear's is closed, the bite has already happened.
Dang.
The crying child was bitten at Fredbear's, and Fredbear's is closed by the time Charlotte died, meaning the crying child has to be bitten first.
Okay.
And thus, the tragedy of the Afton family begins with Cece's trauma surrounding the animatronics. It has never been directly stated why exactly he fears them, though it should be noted that he seems to only fear the robots and not the characters themselves. After all, the plush animals are his friends, especially his Fredbear plush, which talks to and comforts him.
Yeah.
He's here, he's there, he's everywhere.
You gonna call Psychic Fredbear?
It's all but confirmed that Fredbear has his father's voice, as we see a similar Fredbear plush with a walkie-talkie in Afton's hidden bunker, and his final words to CC, "Let me put you back together."
I will put you
mirror
back
what
together.
Michael says his father requested he do with Elizabeth.
I put her back together, just like you asked me to.
Also note that the walkie-talkie near a Fredbear plush in the sister location secret room implies that the bunker was active and in use during 1983, whatever the hell that means.
Huh.
Why William is using a bear to communicate with him and not just talking to his kids directly is still a mystery for the ages, and it still doesn't explain the question we just brought up. Why is CC afraid of the animatronics?
Yeah.
Originally, the hint given to the fan base was what is seen in the shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. And many interpreted this as him seeing someone getting into a Freddy's costume and becoming terrified of what that can mean.
Or, maybe Crying Child saw a spring lock failure. Maybe an employee didn't get out of sight in time, and just, Crying Child just happened to see it. I mean, like, Fredbear's is basically his father, so technically Crying Child's that cool kid that can go into the employee's place.
I believe we have a different answer, one that was given in the game, either intentionally or not. In Night 4's minigame, we see that someone, presumably Michael, though it's never stated, has locked Crying Child in a room filled with robot parts. This alone could cause a child trauma, surrounded by disconnected limbs, staring eyes, and torn wires. However, special attention should be given to the Fredbear suit. Its head is gone, and something is sticking out of its neck. While those could very well be 8-bit wires, I don't think so. We don't see any wires connecting the head to the body when Purple Guy puts the suit on the guy in the background.
So it has to be someone.
To me, these sprites resemble brunette human hair. It's too blurry to
Dang.
tell for sure, but that brings up a question.
Not Max.
Is the Crying Child locked in a regular parts and service room or inside Fredbear's secret back room? Even if this night isn't in a back room, we know that CC has a tendency to get locked places, most likely by Michael, though we can't rule out that it's by William himself. Members of the Afton family would most likely know where the back rooms were, and the back rooms were where the employees were told to go in order to bleed out and die. If the Crying Child was locked in there, only to witness someone enter in a suit, start twitching and bleeding out, and then die in front of him, yeah, that would sure traumatize the kid, perhaps in a way he couldn't explain to others. After all, you're 4 to 8 years old? How do you first of all put together what happened in front of you and then verbalize such a thing? No wonder he's sobbing all the time. We also know from FNAF 3 that the Springlock suits were decommissioned following multiple simultaneous failures.
After learning of an unfortunate incident at the sister location involving multiple...
Alright, so far this theory is solid,
We do not see them in action following the bite of 83, save for the obvious MCI, but even then, the phone guy refers to it as a yellow suit from the back rooms at that point, meaning it's not in casual usage. In the third game, he names it as Spring Bonnie, but says specifically that it's not meant to be used, implying that the FNAF 3 phone calls happened during or immediately following the bite. The Crying Child's death is only one Springlock failure, not multiple simultaneous. If it's the last time they're used, what happened before? Perhaps if, in a week or two prior to the bite, someone got spring-locked and bled out, it's not exactly simultaneous, but it's close enough that they might have counted it as similar incidents. And multiple instances in a short period of time would be concerning enough to shut down the suits entirely.
Okay.
Speaking of the bite of 83, we should probably get to that. Still terrified of the animatronics and potentially having nightmares of them coming to kill him, we'll get to that.
Cece now hates going to Fredbear's and seeing the robots, preferring to cry under the table rather than face them. This is unfortunate for him as it's a family business and he's there a lot. In the
Yeah.
week leading up to his birthday party set at Fredbear's,
And you know
he's
William's
barely
not going
able
to spend
function,
no money
showing
on a
at least one
babysitter.
incident collapsing on the ground and having a breakdown when faced with an animatronic suit. It should also be noted that during this time, neither Cece nor any of the other children appear to be going to school. This could place Cece's birthday and the bite at some time in the summer, or during an autumn or spring break. As we'll discuss
Okay.
later, the missing child incident, or at least the end of it, is stated to happen on June 26, although the year is unspecified. This is something we should keep in mind when we get there.
Okay.
Michael, as a teenage older brother going through his angsty phase, is not at all sympathetic to his brother's plights. Instead, he
Ooh.
prefers to aggressively bully him, mainly via jump scares while wearing a foxy mask, and presumably locking him into rooms so he doesn't have to deal with him. We also know that at one point he literally goes home without the crying child, leaving him at the place he hates the most. Cece doesn't seem very popular outside of his family either. While we see a few kids neutral towards him, asking him to play or simply talking to him, others are antagonistic immediately.
It's at this point I want to talk about William's
Kids are the
actions.
worst, man.
Quick trigger warning for discussion of child abuse for the next 2 minutes.
Oh, crap. Oh, boy. Okay. We're just gonna have to push through it, alright? Hopefully that, YouTube doesn't do this right now. But let's just go.
Question of child abuse for the next 2 minutes.
Ah.
Right now we've got William supposedly communicating through the Fredbear plush rather than actually,
Alright, I just got back. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I ain't taking the chance. But I will say that I'm gonna just sum it up for you guys. Basically, we're just gonna... Basically, William Afton is... I feel like what Michael Afton was doing, scaring Cece with the Foxy mask and just being, like, the worst brother ever. It could feel like something that William Afton has done to Michael Afton before. Maybe Michael Afton's plan was to make Crying Child and Michael have beef with each other, or more like Michael have beef with his own younger brother to distract them from the real enemy, which is William Afton. And William Afton, I guess, in a sense, like, William Afton does care about them, but it's like control freak. And honestly, after seeing the FNAF movie, I can kind of see it. I'm sorry again, guys, if I had to cut out the most video. I wasn't gonna take the risk, but I mean, if you want to watch the original video, it's gonna be in the description box below. It's gonna be like that for both parts. Anyways, let's continue.
Michael's bullying escalates until Cece's actual birthday party. With several of his other friends, all in Freddy's themed masks, the tweens surround the crying boy and decide to prank him by pushing him to give Fredbear a kiss. Cece is screaming and begging for them not to, but we see them cross the entire restaurant, carrying him over to the stage and then shoving him in the mouth. And then the mouth bites down.
R.I.P. CC. Michael, you an idiot.
We see the bullies stop, staring in shock and horror, and the crying child stops moving.
This is the infamous Bite of 83, the date known due to an advertisement for Freddy and Friends on Cece's television, and the code to see the FNAF 4 cameras in sister location, and it is what kills the crying child. But not immediately.
We know from the final cutscene that Cece does not die right away. He slips into a coma where we hear Michael tearfully apologizing just out of his field of vision, while Fredbear/William promises to put him back together before we hear a flatline. So at some point, Cece was in a coma at a hospital, hence the flatlining. This can also be seen in Easter eggs during the FNAF 4 gameplay.
Okay.
On occasion, the bedside table will have a pill bottle, flowers, or just be replaced with an IV drip, implying that the gameplay is the nightmares that the child is having in his coma before he succumbs to his wounds.
Yeah.
Possible. There are other interpretations we will get to later.
Alright.
The real question is, how long did this take? And more importantly, what happened between the bite and the death? Well, the missing children incident.
What? Yo, what? I know I'm reacting too much, but the missing children incident happening during the coma of crying child? I don't think no one has ever thought about that. Hold on.
The missing child incident forms the foundation of practically everything in Five Nights at Freddy's. It was canon even in the first game, where Cawthon wasn't even planning a story, let alone a decade-long lore-heavy franchise. Yet, much like many things in FNAF, information on it is scarce.
First of all, the books give the year it occurs as 1985. However, in The
Okay.
Truth About the MCI, Bon Swooch makes a very good argument for the game incident occurring in 1983 instead, which would put it very close to the bite. The movie seems to put the incident in 87, but that may just be setting up date weirdness.
Okay.
Nevertheless, we have no canon year, only vaguely 80s.
Alright.
We do have a specific day and month, though.
The first game tells us the story through rare, hard-to-spot newspaper clippings, which confirm the incident occurred at Freddy's and that there were 5 missing children.
Okay,
And it's
yes.
confirmed by this point that after they were lured away, the killer stuffed their bodies into the animatronic suits. However, something that
Poor
is not
Abby,
brought
I
up
know she
enough
was
is what else the
traumatized.
newspapers tell us, specifically the first one.
Kids vanish at local pizzeria. Bodies not found. 2 local children were
Hey, Candy
reportedly
Cadet.
lured into a back room during the late hours of operation at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza on the night of June 26th, while video surveillance identified the man responsible and led to his capture the following
Is it gonna do that?
morning.
Beep, beep, beep,
The children
beep.
themselves were never found and are presumed dead. Police think that the suspect dressed as a company mascot to earn the children's trust.
Three things here that people don't bring up enough. One, the end of the incident at the least occurred on a specific date, June 26th.
Okay, so it was more than
2,
just one day.
The final 2 MCI were killed together.
Okay.
And 3, we know they're the last 2 because someone was identified and arrested the following morning.
The next newspaper then says that following this arrest, 5 children were eventually...
I feel like the last 2 have to be Cassidy and Evan. I mean, Cassidy and Crying Child, because maybe I feel like considering that Cassidy is the one that you should not have killed, I feel like in a sense maybe William was more aggressively sending. Basically, he sent Cassidy to the gulag way too fast than the others. And I guess Crying Child also perished on that day. So, that's where we got the golden duel. But hey, let it rock.
linked to the incident, and they have confirmation that a man dressed in a mascot costume to lure them to a back room. The newspaper also says that the man was charged and convicted. Specifically, the headline says,
5 children now reported missing. Suspect convicted.
Okay.
We know that then Freddy's remained open for several years after, only to close when no buyers wanted to be associated with it. The last newspaper specifically refers to the MCI as the tragedy that took place there many years ago. We also know for a fact that Afton was the murderer.
Yes.
However, the question of whether he was the one arrested and convicted is a big one, because the answer to that has to be a no. He was active in the company by 1987 at the least, and still the manager and robot designer for the fun times. I feel like a convicted child murderer would get axed pretty quickly in the company. So someone was caught on camera, arrested, and convicted. But not
Falsely.
William. We'll get to who we think it was in a moment.
As for the
Who is
children
it gonna be?
themselves, we know the names of 4 of the 5 children
The
who disappeared.
anticipation is killing me.
Specifically through the 3rd and 6th games. In the 3rd game, the bad ending shows 5 animatronic heads positioned specifically, each with 1 glowing eye.
Okay.
With the exception of presumably Fredbear, who has 2. Upon completion of Pizzeria Simulator's Lorekeeper ending, we are given a shot of a graveyard on a sunny hill. The first 4 graves are positioned in an eerily similar way to the heads in the above shot, with the 5th obscured by grass, and a 6th high up on the hill above them. The names that can be seen are Gabriel, Fritz, Susie, and Jeremy. 2 of them were identified as missing children in the 4th closet, which released the following June. Ironically, June 26th. Gabriel's name was confirmed in the later graphic novel adaptation. With additional information that Susie is Chica, which we'll get to in a minute, we can very
coming
easily
home.
place the tombstones along the heads and confirm that Gabriel possessed Freddy, Fritz possessed Foxy, Susie possessed Chica, and Jeremy possessed Bonnie.
Yeah.
The 6th grave up on the hill is presumed to be Charlotte Emily's, as the blurry name seems to match in length and shape, and it matches her puppet characterization of watching over the other children in death.
Indeed.
The other 2 missing children in the book series are a girl with long dark hair named Cassidy and a young artsy boy named Michael Brooks. What's important
What?
to note there is that neither of them are named Jeremy. As Michael Brooks is confirmed as the novel's possessor of Golden Freddy, it seems likely that Cassidy replaced Jeremy as Bonnie's possessor in that universe. It should also be acknowledged that the writers of the novels, Cawthon and Breed Risley, would have known that the books take place in an alternate universe to the games by this point.
Yeah.
Cawthon was, of course, in charge of the franchise and apparently decided to write in Charlie as the puppet around then. I feel like these graves were part of the confirmation that they take place in separate universes, as if the fifth obscured grave was supposed to be Michael Brooks, that leaves out Cassidy. And if the fifth obscured grave is Cassidy, it leaves out Michael. It would have been very easy for Jeremy's grave to read Cassidy, but I really feel that adding in a different kid was a specific nudge that the novel MCI are different from the game's MCI.
Okay.
Just keep in mind going forward that while having 3 of the same missing children per universe pretty much gives us confirmation that the above picture is meant to represent those kids, the novels can't be used as a factual basis for all MCI information.
We don't know a lot about the missing boys, but we actually have a lot of information on Susie. For instance, in Ultimate Custom Night, a glitching withered Chica will claim,
I was the first. I have seen everything.
So she's the first missing
this combined
children.
with her gravestone being first in Help Wanted 2 seems to imply that she was the first of the missing children. Then we actually see her abduction earlier in Pizzeria Simulator. The game Fruity Maze, when
Poor
it lights
Susie,
up, she's
man.
the reflection of a young blonde girl.
But
in a
why
blue
her
dress
specifically?
excitedly playing the game. As she continues playing, though, more fruit is replaced with the sprite of a dead dog, and music starts being replaced by the sound effects of a car collision, as her reflection gets more upset. When the third game is completed or lost, we see Spring Bonnie hovering behind her, and the text,
He's not really dead. He is over here.
William Afton, I
Follow me."
hate you.
With this, a story emerges. Susie's dog had previously been hit by a car and killed, and William used this information to lure her to the back room where she became his first victim. We have similar cross.
Also, it now dawned on me that the Five Nights at Freddy's movie 2 trailer had Mangle get hit by a car, right? Vanessa's car. And if you really think about it, back in the day, many people were saying that Mangle was possessed by Susie's dog. So, is that a little nod, or is that what's going to happen in the movieverse? I mean, I don't really think Mangle is possessed by a dog spirit. I don't really think that. I feel like it's all about agony, but hey man, what can I say?
Continuity confirmation that this is Susie via the Fourth Closet graphic novel, where she is depicted as looking exactly the same. In the original book as well, she mentions that Bonnie helped her find her puppy, so this is as confirmed as it gets that it's Susie.
Susie also gets characterization in the Fazbear Fright series, though interestingly in that she is given a completely different physical appearance, with long brown hair and brown eyes, a completely different outfit, and no mention of a dog. Though the game Susie descriptor matches up quite a bit with the doll she and her sister share, Gretchen. That is pretty weird, though from interviews with the co-authors we can gather that a lot of the contradictions to canon were based on a lack of information given to them. In the Fazbear Frights universe, Susie is still a missing child, and specifically the one connected to Chica, so we can consider this another cross-continuity confirmation. Susie is the only universal constant, apparently.
Dang.
Following Susie would have come the other children, and only recently have we been given a definitive order. In Help Wanted 2, when the player reaches the end of Princess Quest 4,
Hey, Daco.
they encounter the graves of all the children of the happiest day. Only by lighting them in the puzzle's correct order can the secret Bonnie mask be located. This parallels the original Princess Quest games, in which you have to do the same thing in order to release Glitch Trap, but the developers of Help Wanted 2 specifically chose to put the missing children's poppets here, identifying these graves as theirs. This really implies that the grave order is the death order, and with Susie as the first, that gives us an order. Chica Susie, Foxy Fritz,
Okay.
Freddy Gabriel,
All right.
Bonnie Jeremy, Golden Freddy, and Puppet Charlie. This surprised the fanbase a lot, because most of us had assumed that Charlotte had died before the missing children. Henry refers to William's kills as a wound first inflicted on me.
Yes.
In the novel trilogy, Charlie dies 2 years before the MCI. But it looks like we were wrong the whole time. Or maybe it got retconned, who knows. Or maybe the puppet was always meant to be after the MCI, and the only retcon was that it was the game universe's Charlie. The latter would make sense, as Henry's kid's death in the novels is described completely differently, with the toddler being kidnapped from a linen closet by Spring Bonnie, rather than stabbed outside by a non-disguised William Afton.
Okay.
Sammy may not have ever been meant to be the puppet, just some random other dead kid. Charlie dying last also explains why the children are already dead for Give Gifts Give Life when she arrives to give them the masks, and why she stuck around in the first place, which will be discussed more in a later section.
All right.
But I'm sure you all noticed something interesting. When naming off kids for the gravestones, Connie didn't name Golden Freddy, did she?
No.
And many of you will be saying, but we have a name. Let's take a look at the security logbook.
All right.
Released just a few weeks after Pizzeria Simulator, the Five Nights at Freddy's security survival logbook is mostly a little puzzle collection, but holds some very important lore information.
Sticky
Firstly, it
notes.
practically confirms
gotta
that
love
Michael
'em.
Afton is the same character as Mike Schmidt, the first game's security guard. He writes his name as Mike in the logbook, meaning he's a security guard named Mike, but he references enough specific sister location stuff to make it clear it's Michael Afton, namely The Immortal and the Restless, Exotic Butters, and Casual Bongos. The second thing it confirms is a certain name. Throughout the book, there are two spirits that seem to be communicating with each other. One through faded text, scribbling notes in the margins of the pages, and
Alright.
another by altering the pre-existing text into their responses.
Yeah.
We will call these spirits faded and altered for now. The
Faded
thing
and
is,
altered.
we
Got
know
it.
for a fact that altered is the crying child. Faded frequently asks if they recognize drawings of the crying child's toys and references his party specifically. Altered's responses, namely the party was for me, line up with the questions and show that the second spirit is indeed our CC. As to who Faded is, well, on several pages, Faded wrote the phrase, "my name." One of these is specifically on a gravestone, and with the book's close release to FNAF 6, it was immediately supposed
Gotta
that this
be
was
Cassidy.
revealing the name on the fifth gravestone.
Yep,
On
Cassidy
each of the
or
My Name pages,
Andrew.
the page's numbers, or other numbers should the page number be obscured, are incorrect. Upon collecting all of them and going to the word search, the numbers can be used as coordinates to locate letters, which
Alright.
spell out very clearly Cassidy.
Yes.
Is why. So, that comes up with the name
Cassidy.
Cassidy. Cassidy. So, the hidden code of this book is a name, and its name is Cassidy. Remember that, guys.
Other phrases
Thanks,
hidden in the
Daco.
word search, which are not supposed to be there, are "it's me," "who are you," and "what is your name."
Very quickly, a conclusion was drawn by the entire fan base, that being that Cassidy is the name of the fifth missing child, and the one stuffed into Golden Freddy.
Yes.
In talking to the crying child, we also have more information on them that changes everything about this kid. One of the specific things that crying child says is, "I can't see," which brought to attention the Fazbear Frights books, though those released 2 years later, but I digress.
Yeah.
Within these books, there's a continuing story at the end of each novel referred to as the Stitch Wraith Stingers,
Oh, yeah.
in which a possessed animatronic is causing destruction wherever it goes. This is meant to tie together multiple fright stories.
I really need to get
the
done with
important
those
thing for the
Fazbear
Cassidy
Frights books.
interpretation is the Stitch Wraith itself. Within the Stitch Wraith are two children's souls, Jake and Andrew.
Yeah.
While Jake died of a brain tumor, Andrew is a vengeful victim of William Afton. He is very specifically the vengeful spirit of the Frights universe.
Say
made
goodbye to your
explicit
kneecaps.
In the Man in Room 1280,
Oh, no.
where he is keeping Afton in an eternal nightmare despite attempts to either revive or kill him, solely to make him suffer. This, of course, brings to mind the vengeful spirit of Ultimate Custom Night, who will be discussed in more detail in the Ultimate Custom Night section.
All right.
We know the vengeful spirit is a victim of Afton, keeping him in an eternal torment. Now, it's not Andrew in the games. While I know this is controversial in the fanbase, it's pretty clear that several Fright stories take place in an alternate universe.
Yeah.
And the Stitch Wraith Stingers are some of them. Namely, just because of two little things. Into the Pit and the Man in Room 1280. Into the Pit establishes that the MCI victims were never missing, but found pretty easily. While you might think Oswald seeing the kids all propped up with party hats was just for dramatic effect, it's confirmed in the final story Year of the Band that this was intended to be the actual way the kids were found. In the games, rather famously, the missing children are missing, their bodies never located. Certainly
Yeah.
not in such a gruesome scene. Meanwhile, the Man in Room 1280 is dying from burns. Of course, Scrap Trap was in the FNAF 6 fire, but he was long dead by that point. William Afton died of a spring lock failure in a hidden back room in the 90s, and then was trapped there without food or water for potentially decades. The fire isn't what killed him. He would already be dead by the time the fire got to him. Ultimate Custom Night in the games is hell rather than the Nightmare of Frights. Right, sorry, Cassidy. So, having these two specific souls in one...
Alright, so checkmate, I guess. So, sorry everyone who think that Andrew is the one that's doing it. Andrew is a parallel Basically, think of Ultraman is to Superman. They're distinctly different versions of them, to say the least. So Andrew has to be the Fright's version of Cassidy. I mean, let's be honest. It would be kind of iffy if Cassidy were to do one thing that didn't really line up in the games. So, yeah, makes sense. So Cassidy is 100% Golden Freddy, stamp and approve in my eyes.
Spirit causing problems on accident across the series has several parallels to Faded and Altered's conversations in the book. Specifically, CC's I can't see, as specifically Andrew cannot see while Jake can. Meanwhile, Andrew is more in control of the endoskeleton's power supply. If, say, there were two spirits in Fredbear, then CC could be the one who couldn't see but was more in control of the suit, and that line could point directly to that interpretation. Though it should be mentioned that they have these specific move sets because Jake possesses the Wraith's mask and Andrew the battery. And I'm not sure how that would work if two kids were both possessing the same entire body, but well, anyway. The fifth missing kid is definitely in Golden Freddy.
Yeah.
We see this in Give Gifts, Give Life and Happiest Day. But if CC is in there too, they'd have to be stuck together.
Best
Thus
friends.
it would work like Andrew and Jake's possession of the Stitch Wraith, with a difficulty maintaining control between it. It would also explain why Fredbear is so glitchy and mysterious. There's two confused souls in one body. And why he's got two glowing eyes in FNAF 3. There's two souls in there instead of just one.
And with Andrew as the vengeful spirit interpretation, this also points to Cassidy being the vengeful spirit of the games' universe. If CC is Jake,
Alright.
then Cassidy is the Andrew parallel, and, well, UCN is very specific Golden Freddy imagery.
Yes.
Mainly in the final cutscene unlocked after completing 50-20 mode, where a non-withered
Brave
Golden Freddy
souls
can be seen
who-
twitching
who
in a black
passed that.
void, interpreted by the fanbase to show the vengeful spirit is inside Fredbear. The twitching Fredbear is what Afton sees when he faces the one he shouldn't have killed. That would make Cassidy the vengeful spirit, angry on behalf of her fellow victims as well as herself. She is the one holding Afton in hell, and possibly the one who has to go back to stop the Mimic in the second arc, though that's very debatable.
Ha.
The Princess and Princess quest was labeled in the files as Cassidy, but this was later changed after being noticed. With other important file names being kept, such as Charlie Door, this seems to imply that it was never supposed to be viewed or wasn't meant to be a clue. Or, well, it's possible that Princess represents Cassie, but that's a whole different ballgame.
Ha.
The thing is, well, this all brings up a certain question. Why Cassidy? Why is she the one William shouldn't have killed?
Cause, like, shouldn't have killed anyone, just in a general sense. So
Yeah.
obviously the title isn't referring to morality, but to
I mean, my best guess is that Cassidy has to be the youngest. Like maybe Cassidy was the youngest of the MCI, and therefore she is the more emotional. That's all I have to say. Now I know what you guys are saying, but Juan, Cassidy was able to speak in fluent English. Like, you mean to tell me that the the mediocre melodies were saying, he tried to release you. He tried to release us. But I'm not gonna let that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here. No matter how many times he burns us. Does that sound like someone in the younger spectrum? But hey, Cassidy is still somewhat of a child, so she could just pick that up from all the other security guards that came in. I mean, let's be honest. Money is scarce over there, so who knows?
the fact that this victim was one who was inevitably going to come back and kick his ass. And not to sound like Mystic Hippo here, but what makes Cassidy so special? Some people infer from the Toy Chica cutscenes of UCN that her death was the last and therefore the most brutal, as Toy Chica's last kill is stated to be worse than the others. But that honestly doesn't make sense to me. The more violent to kill, the more vengeful you are? Is that the logic we're working with? It's not exactly how it works.
True, she could just be a more justice-oriented child than the others, but even then, what purpose does this serve narratively? Why is random kid number 5 the big good who gets to hold Afton in a torture chamber?
Yeah,
The missing
why is
kids,
she more
as you can
stronger?
infer by the fact they barely have names, are more plot devices than characters in their own right. Which is fine. Sometimes in writing, you just gotta focus more on other stuff than characters whose purpose is to be there and die. But then why is the fifth one so important? So important that she's the one stopping our big bad. So important that she gets to haunt alongside CC and communicate with him in the logbook.
And that's where we get to the big question.
The one that Corey asked me the night I did my own read-through of the security logbook. One that changed everything.
Is the logbook telling us that Cassidy is communicating with the crying child, or that Cassidy is the crying child?
What? What?
Newsflash, asshole! I've been
Cassidy.
the entire goddamn time!
All right, time to get
How? Ain't no way. What? But I mean, I guess Cassidy also has C in there, so I guess, but...
mauled by the entire fan base. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Stick with us. This is groundbreaking, I promise. The Cassidy we just discussed for minutes show on screen
Ha!
is not canon. I think a lot of us have forgotten this, but all of the above is speculation. She may be the spirit talking to Crying Child. She may be a parallel to Andrew. She may be the Golden Freddy kid. She may be the vengeful spirit. None of that is
This
ever
is mutiny.
spelled out in canon.
To be fair, very little is. For instance, we don't actually have textual confirmation that the crying child is an Afton. We just have to assume from his connections to Michael, Afton's connections to the FNAF 4 house, and the security breach family of staff bots. Staffton bots.
Ha.
The thing with Cassidy?
This little girl is not the vengeful spirit. She is not Fredbear's possessor. She's not even one of the missing children. The vengeful spirit, as will be discussed later, is someone else, and Fredbear's possessor, and the last missing child, is the crying child, Cassidy Afton.
And you might be wondering, but he didn't go missing, he died?
Yeah.
We'll get there. Let's look again at that logbook code. Yes, the hints on each page are from Faded's writing of my name. This led us all to believe that the name in the word search was, well, Faded's name. But Faded didn't make that code. Altered did. The coordinates are given via altered numbers, with the last couple being provided by Michael Afton himself, as we can tell with his red pen. And the word search is all altered text. The name is found through altered text, and the other hidden messages, it's me, who are you, what is your name, are altered. None of it is in Faded's writing. Faded does write on the next page over, and that would be a great opportunity for the authors to establish that this is Faded's name, but they don't. Faded instead writes, underneath a mirror, what do you see? Faded asks on that page, when you look in a mirror, what do you see? And Altered responds, it's me, Cassidy.
But, you say, Cassidy was a different character in the books. She was a little girl. Yes, she was.
How, man?
And you know who else was in the missing child incident and in the novels? A boy named Michael. Michael Brooks, who isn't canon to the games either. Instead, Michael is William Afton's son, and so is Cassidy. Neither Michael nor the crying child are canon in the novels, with Elizabeth appearing to be the only Afton kid in the trilogy, so their names were repurposed for the missing children. Michael Brooks and Book Cassidy are not the children who died in the games. Instead, they have the names of the missing Afton children in the narrative, Michael and Cassidy Afton. Jeremy, being a missing child named in the games and not the books, when they were written around the same time, was cluing us to look at the names of the two who didn't appear in that image.
Not to mention that the Fazbear Frights parallel argument doesn't work. Jake and Andrew have specific sight and touch powers because of their placement in the body. So I can't see having a point towards CC having less control than Cassidy is, as we say in Fazbear Frights, Stinger moot. Also note that the Stitch Wraith doesn't speak until it's only Jake in there. The only other time in these books we see two souls possess one animatronic, Rosie Porkchop in Together Forever, the animatronic very conspicuously uses plural pronouns to refer to themselves, your ladies in waiting. Which is interesting, seeing as Golden Freddy's only and very iconic line is in the singular.
It's me.
Not us. Just me.
As for the two spirits in game, the other glowing eye and Fredbear, that's not Cassidy. That's Charlie. Again, stick with us for a sec.
What?
Think about the Happiest Day minigame. We see 6 spirits there.
Yeah.
5 missing kids and Charlie. And when the game is completed, all 6 lights go out. Most people explain away the second Golden Freddy kid not being in Happiest Day by saying Cassidy is already torturing Afton in hell.
Yeah.
That means her soul hasn't moved on like the others have. So if her soul hasn't moved on, why does her light go out? The lights going out symbolizes them moving on. It's because she's not the 6th spirit. Instead, it's Charlie, the 6th person here, who moves on only after she's sure all of the other children have too. And why is she represented by a light in Fredbear's eye?
Really interestingly, in FNAF 6, when the puppet is finally trapped within an animatronic, it's within a Freddy animatronic with one visible eye, one golden eye, named after the left eye that is visible.
Lefty.
Charlie is the left eye of that FNAF 3 cutscene. This is also reflected on her grave on the hill, being placed behind the other children and up to the left. The 6 spirits in Happiest Day were always the 4 missing children, Charlie and Cassidy Afton.
The glowing eye is the only hint in the games of 2 spirits in Fredbear. If it's supposed to represent Cece and Cassidy, why are there no hints towards 2 Fredbear souls literally anywhere? Help Wanted 2 really kicked off this interpretation in our minds. They have 6 graves, 6 poppets, 6 Voltron figures. They could easily have had the Fredbear figure split in half, or 2 Fredbear poppets, or something like that.
Yeah.
But they didn't. Because there's only one Fredbear spirit. This, of course, brings up the question of who Faded Text is. If Altered is Crying Child and Crying Child is Cassidy, who's Faded? It isn't Michael, he writes in red pen, and given that he provides 2
Who it
coordinates,
is?
it's safe to assume he was aware of the spirits trying to communicate, making him a third party. Also implies that he recognized the second spirit was trying to spell out his name and was trying to help him remember it. The Faded Text then has to be someone who knows the Crying Child.
First of all, think about it. When does Mike fill out the logbook? He's definitely the security guard for the first game and the 6th, with the others a bit more up in the air. All we know is this book takes place after Sister Location, since he references it. And if entered is the Molten MCI, that would place this logbook also after the first game, because assuming the pieces of the original animatronics were in the fun times, see Henry's He Took Everything From Them Again, then FNAF has to take place before Sister Location. Now, Immense Andrew brings up in the survival logbook is still important, and it changes FNAF 3, that this book could very well take place during the 3rd game and might be revealing Michael as the Night Guard. It shows basically the biggest evidence we have on that theory, with Fazbear Frights' office being illustrated in the book with Foxy as the Night Guard. The more modern lingo also implies that this is a more modern book, which would put it in the timeline of 3 or 6. FNAF 6, meanwhile, has a decent basis as well. This would tie into their close release dates and adds a bit more context to Michael drawing his own gravestone when asked where he will be in a year, since he knew where this restaurant would end up. So then, what does that leave us? With the candidates we have for Faded, we're pretty sure that this book takes place in FNAF 3. The Faded Text is most likely Charlie, trying to prompt Cassidy to remember himself for the happiest day. If it takes place in FNAF 6, then it's probably William, who is trapped inside of Scrap Trap.
Because in FNAF 6, Scrap Trap is no longer just Spring Bonnie. As pointed out by Stormmister in his video, I found a reason for Afton to look so weird. The muzzle and feet of Scrap Trap are not Spring Bonnies. Rather, they are Golden Freddy's. Stormmister points out it's very likely that these pieces were picked firstly to repair himself following the fire, but secondly, possibly, in hopes of taking away the animatronic mode's programming that makes him leave to follow audio cues, to give himself control back of his own body. It appears that after the FNAF 3 fire, Scrap Trap pieced himself together with some of Fredbear's pieces. And as we know from the fun times, moving the metal moves the remnant. When ripping apart Golden Freddy, whatever spirit was inside was put into Scrap Trap. And Scrap Trap may or may not have ever realized that.
There's something else too.
And that would align themselves with the whole, the man in room 1280, because there's like 2 brainwaves, 2 entities fighting each other in control. That would be William Afton and Cassidy, who we're now being told is actually Crying Child. My brain is wearing about all this, to be honest, for real.
Scrap Trap would have known where Golden Freddy was at this time, because we were also told where Golden Freddy was, and didn't realize. In finding out where Golden Freddy was, we get more evidence that it did not hold a 5th missing child, but rather the soul of Crying Child only. Remember Night 4 of Sister Location? In it, we're trapped in a springlock suit by Circus Baby, who simply says it's from her old pizzeria and was never used, or at least, not in the way it was supposed to. Said springlock suit is never identified, but here's the thing. Sister Location happens right after Freddy's closes, and springlock suits were discontinued long before Freddy's closed. They were discontinued after multiple simultaneous failures in 1983. Why would they build another one for Circus Babies? And if so, why only one?
If springlock suits were coming back into fashion, why only make one springlock and not the others? And if it's an old suit, we know Fredbear's only had two mascots, Spring Bonnie and Fredbear.
Uh-huh.
Right now, we have two specially designed suits that double as both animatronic and suit.
They were the only springlock suits, and they were both used, but not at Circus Babies. If Elizabeth was a toddler when Fredbear's closed, she wouldn't remember those suits being in use.
Yeah.
And Circus Baby herself barely has Elizabeth's memories at this point. Most of her consciousness is of what a robot itself saw. If Fredbear and Spring Bonnie were moved to Circus Babies, they wouldn't have been used, considering it closed day one after Baby scooped Elizabeth. They'd also be old suits, having been collecting dust for a few years now, so she wouldn't think they'd been used at all.
Okay.
At least, not in the way they were supposed to.
In Help Wanted, we see 4 Endo-01 skeletons in the furnace, leaning heavily towards the molten MCI theory, which is that Afton broke the original animatronics down, melted them into Remnant, and injected them into the Fun Times.
Yeah.
Which is why they're like that.
Crazy.
But there's only 4 skeletons and no Golden Freddy suit and no Spring Bonnie. He carted the original 4 over here, so why not them? They're not in the molten MCI, meaning we're in one of these 2 suits.
And Spring Bonnie's suit can't be the one we're trapped in. When Afton crawls into it, it's just laying in an abandoned Freddy's back room. Doesn't look like it's been moved in a long time. Certainly not to Circus Babies, which only leaves one Springlock suit we could be inside of. Yes, that's right. In Night 4 of Sister Location, Michael Afton is shoved into the same suit that he shoved his brother into.
Oh, nah. Talk about karma. Ah, nah.
He is in the Fredbear suit.
It's just big enough for one person to fit inside, but just barely.
Look at the faceplate. Compare it to Golden Freddy. The hole for the smile could easily fit the animatronic's
that is
muzzle.
some devious
And
work.
More importantly, the suit has no eyes.
Elizabeth Afton literally is
Just
getting
like Golden Freddy.
get back for
Eyeless with an open smile
Cassidy.
as the jaw
That's
falls.
crazy.
Now even compare it to the trailer footage from Into the Pit. Look at the eye shape. It's the same mask. Girl, you have the same fucking face.
Also, if you ask about the face opening up, the other animatronics do that too. The Fun Times aren't special. In an interview with Dawko, Scott Cawthon said something interesting about this suit.
So here's an interesting one, which I don't know if you're going to answer or not. So in Night 4,
This is gonna
when
be
we're
a
inside
long
the
video,
suit,
bro.
a lot
We're
of
already
people
in
wanted to know
1 hour.
whose
I'm
suit is
scared.
Whose suit is that? I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to answer that for you.
That's fine.
That's gonna have to remain a topic of discussion.
If it was just a new animatronic, why not just say that? Because it's not. It's Golden Freddy, and knowing that would have spelled out one very important thing. If Michael wasn't Golden Freddy for Night 4, then there is no body in there.
No.
There is no missing child inside.
We know for a fact the other 4 missing children are literally inside their respective animatronics.
Yeah.
The animatronics smell like death, they release blood and mucus. Their bodies were hidden there and never moved. So why would Fredbear be different?
Because Fredbear was never meant for any random child. It was always meant for Cassidy Afton. Cassidy Afton was the 5th missing child.
First,
Nah,
let's once
that
again
is
bring up the order
crazy.
of deaths in Help Wanted 2. Susie Chica, Fritz Foxy, Gabriel Freddy, Jeremy Bonnie, then Golden Freddy Kid.
Then it would definitely be that crying child perished as William Afton was done with the whole MCI. Like, he took his frustration out of 4 missing kids, and then he comes back to the hospital, and now his son is now gone.
Then Charlie. An argument can be made the crying child may have happened afterwards, as the Bonnie mask is found after the graves are all lit, but we must remember Midnight Motorist. The bite, which would have been represented by the mask in this interpretation, needs to happen before Charlie dies.
Okay.
CC isn't the mask, he's the plush. Something we have to remember right now is that the crying child doesn't immediately die from the bite. He's in the hospital for some time. He's alive long enough for Michael and William to talk to him, and for William to promise to put him back together. We think that William took his son out of the hospital, either pulled a parent card and said he needs to be at home to recover, or maybe he just smuggled him out. Maybe he did that at the beginning and shoved him in that nice little underground bunker with all his toys in it. Or maybe he does this on the last night. We're not...
And I guess that would mean that the whole dug up hole in Midnight Motorist is Crying Child. William Afton just decided, yep, I'm not paying for a funeral for my son. Let me just dig up a random hole and just yeet his body down there.
Not entirely sure. It's not
That
really
is
that important.
crazy.
What we are sure about is that while CC is in his fun little coma, William starts killing. Because he's practicing, learning how to put them back together.
In Tales from the Pizzaplex, it's shown that the material of Remnant, at least the owner's own, has healing properties. If he knew or was discovering this, maybe that's what he was after. After shoving Susie into Chica to hide her, Chica starts acting strange. While Susie isn't fully possessing the suit, it's still being a bit erratic, twitching at random intervals.
More like possessing
Perhaps
the
her enemy is already
endoskeletons.
inside of it, keeping her pain inside while her remnant wanders. As seen in Fazbear Frights, when Susie wanders her home all day, then disappears with the spirit of Chica at night. But Chica's still acting weird, so William tries the same thing with Foxy. Kill a kid, shove them inside. Henry has set up a safeguard, a security puppet to make sure children don't leave the area, and specifically to make sure his own daughter, Charlotte, is safe. After one disappearance, you can't have any more, can you? But his flaw here is thinking that someone is luring the children out of the location. William is working on the inside. He kills Fritz. He's starting to figure out that the remnant of dead souls may be able to attach itself to metal.
Okay.
Or maybe the suits are just acting weird because there are bodies inside of them clunking up the motors. He's gotta try again. Only this time, now that the puppet didn't work, we have cameras. The final night, he lures Gabriel and Jeremy together. The last two to go were Freddy and Bonnie, which tracks. In every game, in every restaurant, it's you and me together forever and ever. Of course they died together. And when he killed them, either he thought he'd figured it out or realized he'd been caught on camera and was running out of time.
When we look at Fredbear's twitching cutscene in UCN, the soundtrack titles the scene Void. Pay attention to the way this bitch moves. First off, it's an undamaged Fredbear. It's not Golden Freddy yet, and it's far from withered. It's a Fredbear in its prime.
Okay.
You know where else we see this twitching? In the original trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's 3 with Springtrap. Showing possession, right? Perhaps. You know what else it may be showing? Let's look at a very specific instance in the books. In Fazbear Frights 1:35 a.m., in the short The New Kid, when Kelsey gets into the Golden Freddy suit and gets spring-locked.
And the sound wasn't the bad part. It was bad, yes. But the bad part, the really, really bad part, was the way the suit started jerking in a spastic, horrific dance. It looked like the moth-eaten, mildew-blotched gold bear was convulsing. But it wasn't the bear. Devon knew it wasn't the bear. It was Kelsey.
Oh,
what
no.
did I do? Look at it. It's still moving. He's still alive. We have to get him out of there. Devon glanced at the suit. It kind of pulsed, like it was a large, bloody heart getting in its last beats.
This shot isn't just showing that the suit is possessed. The other suits are possessed, but don't twitch like this, because they're not spring-lock suits. The same twitching can be seen in the film when William is in the back room, dying from his spring-locking.
Dang.
This shot and the FNAF 3 shot are shots
Bye,
of someone
William.
being
See you in the sequel.
spring-locked. And the Void shot of Golden Freddy is Cassidy's spring-locking. Cassidy was placed into the Golden Freddy suit, and whether intentionally or not, spring-locked. This kid was taken off of his life support, put into his worst nightmare, and made to suffer one of the most horrific deaths imaginable.
Oh, no.
William watches Fredbear do this horrible twitching as Cassidy, whether awake or not, dies, and then the suit goes still. And when it doesn't move after long enough, William concludes that it didn't work, which, oh shit, it, quote-unquote, didn't work. All of this was for nothing. But now he has a whole new problem. He can't just say Cassidy finally died in his coma. Look at his body. If it hadn't been completely ripped to actual shreds like in Together Forever, it's mangled beyond belief. Not a single person is going to look at that and think those were from the coma. Everyone's going to know something's up, and considering at least one other person has been spring-locked in the past, the wounds might be recognized.
Great. And if we're trying to believe that Cassidy was William Afton's kid, congratulations, William. You killed your own child. Round of applause with you. Someone out there is basically thinking, oh yeah, this is definitely proving that William is just as worse as Shao Tucker. Which, we're not going to open that can of worms.
Henry would recognize the wounds and identify them. They see these wounds on Cassidy, they'll realize he was stuffed into a suit, and possibly begin to look into the others.
William panics. He'll leave the other children where they are to rot in the suits, but not his son. Instead, he takes the body out. He removes Cassidy and puts his body in a box.
Oh.
To hide his failure, his horrible crimes, and to put his son somewhere he might be able to grab him should he actually figure out how to put him back together, he buries his son in an unmarked grave in the woods.
Oh, never
Strange
mind.
pile of dirt in Midnight Motorist. The next day, then, the police search the Freddy's security cameras for Gabriel and Jeremy.
Huh.
They see them being lured away by someone in a spring Bonnie suit, and come to one conclusion. It has to be one of the owners. Now that the Springlock suits are decommissioned, they're the only two who would know where the suits are and how to use them.
But when they get to William, he tells them that not only was he definitely totally home all night, but his son is missing too. His son, who was sick and dying, disappeared or got kidnapped. How awful, how tragic. And so, who gets arrested? Henry.
Oh! What? Oh, no! What? Henry! But that explains why Henry was not seen for so long. He was still in prison. That I didn't notice that.
Someone was arrested the night after the final 2 MCI went missing and was later connected to the 5 disappearances. Obviously, Fritz and Susie were tied in, but the 5th kid was William covering his own ass. He let Cassidy slip into the missing child incident, hiding not only the fact that he knew where Cassidy's body was, but that he himself was the killer. He can't be the murderer now that he's a victim himself. He's one of the grieving family members of a lost child. So, Henry, the only other person who can operate the Springlock suits, is arrested.
Dang.
And convicted.
Dang.
Don't forget, the second newspaper in FNAF says that the suspect was convicted. As we stated before, it couldn't have been William, who still had control of the franchise in the years following the incident.
Nah,
but Henry,
literally
not
made
only would he be just as suspicious as William once they knew about the Springlock
Killed
suit,
his own
Henry
kid.
disappears from the game's storyline until FNAF 6. He disappears for roughly 30 to 40 years, depending on when FNAF 3 takes place and when the MCI would have happened. It's not because he just left. He was arrested, convicted, and imprisoned. Henry unwillingly took the fall for William in the missing children incident.
Nah, that is some devious work. So you mean to tell me, if we're going by this theory, William Afton essentially just took the lives of many kids, essentially killed his own kid, and essentially just now framed his best friend, his co-worker, his co-founder, Henry Emily, to make him take the fall while he can go off and do more egregious acts. William Afton, I hate you, bruh. I hate you.
And following his arrest, what happens? His daughter is shunned by the other kids. Whether they exactly know or understand what's going on or not, they know her dad used to be in charge of the place and is now under police custody, and he's the reason all those other kids went missing. So they bully her, and one fateful night, lock her outside.
Now Henry is imprisoned and can't be there for her. The security puppet is trapped in its box, and the kids lock Charlie outside.
Nah, if I was Henry, I would absolutely be heated.
Charlie, meanwhile, just wants to go back in. Then William drives up.
William's drunk. He killed 4 children and for nothing. Whatever he was trying, he ended up with a dead end, or at least 5 dead ends. He has to pretend that
Not
Cassidy
funny.
is just missing and that he didn't
Didn't
bury
laugh.
him alone in the woods, that he didn't kill 4 children and let his business partner take the fall for him. Utah is a death penalty state. Henry will most likely be put on death row for this. And for what? For Cassidy to just die anyway. He drives up to Freddy's in his drunken stupor, and he sees Charlotte outside the building, locked out. His rage and anger at himself and at Henry, the man who built the animatronic that bit his son, takes over, and he does one final kill. He murders Charlotte Emily in the alley. He's not hiding her body, though. He doesn't care anymore. He just leaves her outside in the rain and drives home.
In this, he may have saved his own ass once again. When Charlotte is inevitably found, she won't be chalked up to a victim of the same killer as the MCI. The death is completely different. She wasn't lured away, and her body was found. It'll be chalked up to a copycat or a vigilante hoping for vengeance on Henry. It won't prove Henry innocent. If it's a different killer, then they can't say we must have gotten the wrong guy, seeing his kids are still dying. Charlotte dies, and Henry is still in jail for it.
Dang.
That night, Afton drives home.
Completely
Tries to
ruined the
see
whole
Michael, only to
family.
find he's escaped to that place. And what is that place? The gravesite. How Michael discovered the unmarked grave is unknown. Perhaps he saw on the night his dad buried it, sneaking after him when he stopped to grab a shovel. Maybe he saw his dad visit once and started to piece together what it was. Or maybe, just maybe, Cassidy was trying to show him. Unbeknownst to William, his plan had worked. Cassidy's soul was
That's
now
just
tied to Golden
insane.
Freddy,
This is
but it wasn't like the other souls. It was confused,
so much, man.
volatile,
This is so much. And
because the
this
soul
video
was
is
separate
long,
from the
bro.
body.
I don't even want to
The
know
body
what my
wasn't in
tablet's
Golden
battery
Freddy,
is at
it was
now.
buried in the woods. Golden Freddy appears outside of Michael's window and beckons him to find him. It's not the actual suit, though. It's physical enough to leave prints, but the suit itself doesn't move. Think of the scene in the 2023 film where Golden Freddy's ghost is present enough to kill
Ding
Aunt
dong,
Jane,
the witch
but
is
also
dead, the
gets
witch
into
is
the house
dead, the
without
witch
breaking
is
the door
dead.
if you
Ding
notice.
dong, the
It
witch is
vanishes
dead.
like it's not a real suit, but sure hits like one. It can suddenly appear
Let
and
out.
disappear. In the same way, the game's Fredbear ghost works like this. It appears outside Michael's
No
window
disrespect
in
to
a
the actor,
somewhat
though.
stable function, while the actual suit is still
Just
sitting
hate
in a
Aunt
back room.
Jane.
Michael's starting to suspect that his dad may not be as innocent as he appears.
Really?
He wonders why his father wasn't paying enough attention to Cassidy and how Cassidy got snatched. If he was, in a coma. If he's even connected to this at all. Then he starts seeing apparitions of Golden Freddy and starts following it. Maybe he knows it's a ghost, maybe he thinks it's a manifestation of his own guilt.
Yeah.
But he follows it and goes to a place where his father was digging one night and tries to find his brother's grave.
William is angry at Michael for going to the gravesite. If anyone sees him and figures out what he's doing, William's fucked. Though Cassidy is buried in the woods and not missing, and William's story will start to fall apart. William's caught Michael near the grave before, and he knows Michael suspects something is up. So, knowing Michael ran off to that place again, he vows that he's going to regret it. He's going to regret digging into his father's sins. The box holding Michael's brother? Left forgotten, for now. As for Michael, well...
Let's talk about the Nightmare Guy!
No!
In Tales
Alright, guys, we're just gonna stop it right here. I'm sorry. I really am sorry, but we're gonna stop it here, alright? Do expect another episode coming out very shortly. You know what? No. We're just gonna stop it right here, alright? So, thank you guys so much for watching. And don't worry, the part 2 will be coming out very shortly. This is JUAN Gamer 54 signing off.